So welcome back to another video on the channel. I'm still in my rash guard. I just got home from jiu-jitsu, but I wanted to make this quick video, and I actually built one of the resources for the training program this morning, and I wanted to do a YouTube video around it because I think it's really going to help you if you're struggling to sign clients right now. This resource is going to directly help you book more calls and sign more clients. I can near enough guarantee it because it's all based on data. You'll be able to find a link to the resource down below. It's a plug and play version of it, just so you can use it on your own, plug in your own numbers and use it at your own will. But I do want to explain it in this video so that you can use it to its full capacity, so you can book more calls and sign more clients. So with that being said, let's get into it. So as I say, I'll link this right below the video. When you open it up, just go to File and then go Make a Copy, and then you can edit it and do whatever you want with it. So this is it right here. Now, it may not look like a lot, but I promise you guys, if you use this exactly as I'm going to walk you through in this video, you will be able to book more calls and you will be able to sign more clients. It's mathematically impossible to not book more calls and sign more clients by using this, okay? So basically we've got a few points here. So we've got touch points, conversations, touch point to conversation percentage, booked calls, conversation to book call percentage, sales calls taken, show up rate, sales call to client percentage, conversion rate, okay? And under each percentage, we've got a green box. Now we can make this box go to red, okay, as you can see here. So if you, depending on your numbers, so you're only going to change the numbers that are in white, and by the point in which you actually view this document, it might have changed a little bit. That's because I literally built it this morning, but I'm so hyped about it, I want to get a video out on it ASAP. But for now, just fill out these numbers right in that are in white, and then the colored numbers will change automatically. Now obviously if it's red, it's not good. If it's green, then you're in the clear. Okay, so let's have a look at how this works. So touch points. This resource applies to any type of outbound client acquisition that you're doing. So whether you're doing LinkedIn, you're doing Facebook Messenger, you're doing Instagram DMs, you're doing emails, you're doing any type of outbound, specifically outbound, okay? This is going to work for you. So touch points is, as I say, you sending any type of message, you having any type of touch point that you can track. That's why I say it's outbound, not inbound, right? With ads, you can't track the touch points per se, or your organic content, you can't track the touch points. That's going to be separate. And again, as I say, this is in the training that I'm bringing out, and the training will have those separate things. But for this, purely for outbound, Facebook Messenger, Instagram, emails, whatever, that's your touch point. So if you send 1,000 emails, you have 1,000 touch points, okay? And basically all you want to do is just track over the last, the date range you can really change up, but I'm going to show you how the date range plays into it here in a minute as well, and how you can use that to sign more clients essentially. Conversations, out of your 1,000 touch points, let's say for example you have 100. Now a conversation is essentially a reply, right? And given that it's not like a F you reply or take me off your list or never message me again, anything other than that, it's a conversation, right? Because then you'll be able to go back and forth and have a conversation. So ideally with your touch point to conversation percentage should be 10%. If we go net here and now go 50, you'll see this will go to red because now it's only a 5% conversion rate from touch points to conversation started, okay? So ideally you want it to be 10%, which in this case with these numbers would be 100 conversations, would be 10% of 1,000 touch points. Then from your conversations, ideally you want to have a 30% conversation to book call rate. So this isn't 30% of your touch points, this is 30% of your conversations turn into a book call. Now, what does this mean from a touch point perspective? Well, it means that it's a 3% touch point to book call conversion rate, right? So it's 30% on your conversations, but it's 3% on your total touch points, okay? That's the ideal book call percentage. And then you've got your sales calls taken. So obviously a book call does not mean a sales call taken because some people may not show up. So then you have a show up rate percentage, and you always want your show up rate to be above 80%. Again, if we take this sales calls taken down to, for example, 10, you'll see this will go to red, right? Because it's below 80%. So you want to try and keep this at all times above 80%. If we go 24, you can see it's right on the dot. Now, if we go to 23, it will instantly go to red because you are below 80%, okay? And then you have your sales, right? And your sales call to client conversion. So this is basically what's your sales call conversion rate, okay? So in this case, you would only have a 4% sales call conversion rate because out of 25 calls, you signed one client or you sold one package, right? So ideally you would want it to be around 7, right? So ideally you would want it to be around 9, I believe would be 30%. Yeah, so you want it to be 30% minimum sales call conversion rate. Now, this is all well and good. This looks pretty amazing, but how do we actually use this, right? How are you actually going to be able to use this to your advantage in your outreach? How are you going to be able to use this in your agency to book more calls and sign more clients, which is really the main goal of this video? Well, what you want to do is, as I said before, you want to take a time frame, right? Take whatever the time frame is. It doesn't really matter as long as your touch points is around 100 at a minimum, because then otherwise it's going to be very difficult to, if you do it just from yesterday, you have 25 touch points. Well, you're probably not going to get many book calls, and you're probably not going to get many sales calls taken and sales. So then the numbers and the metrics become useless, right? Because you've got zero, right? So you want to do a long enough time period where you've actually got some data. Most of the time, for most of you, it's going to be around a 30-day period. So take your 30-day period stats, right? And you should know these, by the way. If you haven't been tracking these numbers, well, first things first, you need to start to track, because you can't make any decisions based on no data, right? Just think about when you sign on a client, if they've got no pixel on their website, it's very, very hard to deliver results for them, right? Why? Because there's no data. It's the same thing for your agency. If you're just sending emails aimlessly, you're jumping on sales calls aimlessly, you're not tracking anything, you're not recording anything, then you're not going to be able to use this activity. And if you are able to use this activity, you'll be able to sign more clients. I guarantee it. So as I say, take your numbers over the last 30-day period, right? How many touch points did you make? Conversations, this, right? So let's say, for example, over the last 30 days, you sent 500 emails or 500 messages, whatever it is that your conversion rate is, whatever your outbound process is. Cool, 500 touch points. Okay, how many conversations did you start? Maybe you started 67 conversations out of 500 emails sent, okay, or 500 messages sent. Cool. How many book calls did you get? Maybe you got 5 book calls. Okay, cool. How many sales calls did you actually take? How many showed up? 4 showed up. Perfect. How many clients did you sign? You have a 25% conversion rate, you signed 1 client, okay? Cool. Now, if these are your numbers, what you can now do based on these colored boxes, right, is you can see very black and white where your issue is. It's very, very obvious as to where your true issue is. And now that we're able to identify where the issue is, guess what? There is levers associated to each one of these points here, which you can then take action on and you can fix. And if you're able to fix your issues, you'll increase the throughput of the entire funnel. And guess what? You'll be able to sign more clients or book more calls and sign more clients. So in this case, touch points is fine, right? 500 per month, whatever. That's, that could be a couple thousand, but for the moment, it's okay. Conversation started is perfect, right? Because you're at 13.4%, which is basically replies. And we're assuming that these are good replies, right? This is really, really good. Now, this is where the issue is with these numbers, right? So your book calls. So you're only getting a 7.46% conversion rate from conversation started to booked call. So this is where the issue is, right? It's from the conversations and converting those conversations into a book call. Now, in this case, what can you do to increase that conversion rate? Well, what you can do is you can, number one, make your offer seem more irresistible, right? Because if people are responding to your initial touch point, you're building intrigue, right? That's why they would respond, because they're curious that you've built intrigue inside of that prospect. Cool, you've got the response and you're doing that very well. But now you're failing to get them on the phone. And really, most of the time, the biggest reason somebody will get on the phone is because you've got such a good offer that they can't resist. That states an irresistible offer. Okay, most of the time that's going to be your main reason, and you're probably just not making the upside to your service seem that great. So they're like, nah, yeah, it's cool what you're offering, but like, to be honest, like, I'm not that interested. Like, it's not really important for me right now. So whatever the solution is to the problem that they're facing, you're not making that problem a threat level 1 issue. Right, so they're thinking, yeah, it's a problem that we're facing, but like, it's not that big of a deal. So yeah, I'm probably, we're okay for the moment, or we're not interested at the moment, or whatever, right? But if you're then able to make that problem more of a threat level 1 issue, and they're like, oh my God, yeah, actually, I really need to get that fixed. That's whatever, right? I really need to get that fixed. They'll probably jump on a call. So the first thing to increasing this conversion percentage here is to make the problem that your solution fixes a threat level 1 issue, and number 2, make your offer seem irresistible. Right? And obviously offers and whatnot are entirely separate, and that's actually going to be in the new training as well that's coming out. There's an entire module on offer creation. So now, instead of just sitting back and saying, why am I signing more clients? My entire client acquisition flow is just not working, like this just doesn't work. Well, actually, it is working. It's just, there's just this little bottleneck here, right? Because even though your sales call conversion rate isn't 30%, it's still 25%. It's not that terrible, right? And this is really good numbers, right? You're 3.4% above the average. So it's just this little bottleneck here that's actually causing the issue. You know, there's no point doing that, right? Because it is working. It's just this little section here which is causing a huge bottleneck, right? Because now there's prospects flowing through, but as soon as they hit this, right, it drops right down, and then not as many people can get passed through, and then out the other end, there's just nowhere near as many people as what came into it. And the issue is, as I say, this bottleneck right here, which in this scenario is your book call conversion rate. So fix this, right? And once you know what the issue is, as I say, what then comes with that issue is a bunch of levers that you can pull. There's no point changing your first email or your first message, right? Or your first touch point of whatever it is. There's no point changing the CTA of that first message because it's warranting great responses, right? There's no point changing what you're doing in between the call being booked and them actually showing up because you're getting an 80% shot rate, which is perfectly fine. And yeah, you can maybe change your sales approach to make it 30% instead of 25%, but 25% still pretty good. So there's not really too much point focusing here. You need to focus on here. Now, as I say, what comes with this is a bunch of levers that you can pull, which is kind of what we just touched on before. So now if you're able to increase the throughput through this section here, right, which in this case is your conversations to book calls, now you take this to, instead of 5 book calls, now it's 19 booked calls, and you take it to a 28% conversion rate. Well, assuming we're still getting the same numbers here, which here was 80% shot rate, which would be, let's say again, just roughly 15 calls taken, ensuring that we're still getting an 80% shot rate. And now here we're still getting a 25% conversion rate, which would be in this case 4 new clients. So now you've just 4x'd your entire client acquisition flow simply by fixing the true issue. And you've used this little formula, this little structure here to find that true issue and actually fix that thing. If you focused all your time on, you know, changing the touch points, well, the true issue is still prevalent. And so you'll still be running into a brick wall every time. So this just really helps you to reverse engineer your entire process, see what your current numbers are, and it just shows you black and white where the issue is. Now, as I say, these colored sections are based on predetermined percentages, and these predetermined percentages are kind of what we found to be the best numbers, right? This is kind of what you want to aim for. This is the average close rate. This is the average shot rate. This is like, you know, industry standards. This is what you want to be shooting for. How are your numbers looking against those industry standards? How are your numbers looking against those averages, right? Oh, well, it's down here. Well, cool. Let's focus on that. So now imagine if you was actually able to hit all the averages. So here you would go 21 calls, you're in the green. Here you would maybe go, what would it be? Maybe 19 calls, for example, 90% shot rate. That's perfect. And then here, for example, if you was able to have a 30% close rate, maybe you close 7 clients. That gives you a 36.84% sales call conversion rate. Well, now you're in the green, and from 500 touch points, you've signed 7 clients. And so you always want to be trying to get these numbers here in the green, because if you do, you will 100% book more calls and sign more clients. And if they're in the red, well, you need to see what section is in the red. Is it this section, this section, this section, this section? And then, as I say, with each of those sections, you then have there's a bunch of levers that come with increasing or decreasing that specific section, right? For example, if you can't get this sales call to client conversion process above 30%, well, everything else you're doing is perfectly fine, but what you're doing on the actual call is not working. So then you need to change that, right? Or maybe every call you're getting on, you know, you're having 100% shot rate, you're getting a great conversation to book call rate, everything's working really well, but every single client you hop on a call with, they just don't qualify for your service. Okay, cool. Now that's when you would need to come to the touch point section and start sending these 500 emails, 500 messages to a different set of people, right? Because the initial set of people, they just weren't qualified. Okay, cool. Now change that. Different 500 people, get the numbers locked in on that separate audience, and then you'll be perfectly fine, right? So I hope this video helps you. Again, I'll link this document in the description below so that you can go ahead, as I say, open it up and then go file, make a copy, right? And then you'll be able to edit it in your own drive or whatever you want to do with it. But as I say, I hope it makes sense and I hope it is useful, because the idea of reverse engineering is like the most powerful thing that you can do. I do it with absolutely everything that I do, primarily client acquisition, as well as obviously sales, but also ad results for clients as well. So like actual client ad managers and whatnot, we're always reverse engineering, because if you're able to reverse engineer the process, you just see exactly where the issue is. And if you can see where the issue is, right, you're able, usually that issue will come with a bunch of levers. And then once you know the levers in which you need to pull to increase your throughput of whatever the funnel is that you're currently doing, change the levers, optimize them, and you should increase your throughput. And if it doesn't increase the throughput, then you change the levers in the wrong way. And if it doesn't increase your throughput, right, maybe results dip, well, again, reverse engineer the entire funnel, see where the issue is again. It's probably going to be the same issue as before. Okay, cool. Now we need to change them in a different way, right? Don't do it the way we initially did it, change it in a different way. And that's probably going to end up increasing your throughput. It's a very, very easy process. And as I say, we use this for everything. So as always, I hope you found value in this video. If you did, smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, comment the word client attraction in the comment section below if you watch this video from start to finish, because as you guys know, you are the ones who are going to find the most value out of these videos. So comment client attraction below. And with that being said, I will see you in the next one.